Okay, so today we're going to be working with adjustment layers. Adjustment layers are always on the Photoshop certification test. There's always at least 2 questions, if not more, where they want you to use an adjustment layer. Also, adjustment layers are very useful for your own work. The main thing about adjustment layers are that they are non-destructive. Okay, so I'm going to kind of demonstrate that real quick for you so you can see it very easily. And then I'm going to show you the benefit to using adjustment layers. Alright, so the first one we're going to do, first of all, I've downloaded the 5 images that we're going to use today. So this one. So they're all open as separate tabs up here, and we're starting with this one that's titled Black and White JPEG. So I'm going to fit to screen, and I'm going to first show you the destructive way to do something. So for this one, we're going to leave parts of the photo in color and change the rest of it to black and white. I'm going to show you how to do black and white destructively first. So this is the destructive way to do it. As you see here, we have the JPEG right here, the photographs right here, simply the background layer. If I do image adjustments black and white, you can play with this to adjust the contrast in your black and white. But once you say OK, you will see that the edit is on the photograph itself. Okay, so this is a destructive edit. It is damaging the photograph. Every time you make an edit to a photograph, the quality of it decreases. So now I'm just stepping back, I'm undoing that edit. I use the shortcut Command Z to step back one time. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to use an adjustment layer to do this and show you why it's so beneficial. Okay, so the adjustment panel is usually found above the layers panel with the tab up here. Now I will tell you, if you do not see it in your Photoshop workspace, or especially on the test, it's not always visible, as is the layer panel is not always visible. All your panels are underneath Window, so you'll simply go to Window, Adjustments, or Window, Layers. Everything is under here. Another good tip is if you lose your tool panel, your options bar, anything, you can reset your workspace, which is also under Window. Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials, and it will go back to default. But again, all your panels are under the Window menu in alphabetical order. So here's the check mark indicates that it's already open. And the cool thing about the adjustment panel, like the tool panel, if you hover over them, it will pop up and tell you which is which is very helpful, especially for on the test. Okay, so we're going to find the black and white, which is this one, and it said, well, if you hover over it, it will say create a new black and white adjustment layer. So I'm going to click on that. Now when you click on that, you'll see the properties panel comes up and gives you the same options that I had under the image adjustment menu, but this is non-destructive. I'm going to collapse this because we're not going to use it. So I'm going to come down here. Now you see that the black and white adjustment layer shows up above the background layer. So again, I want to stress this edit is not happening to the actual photograph. If we mess up with it, if we don't like it, we can simply delete the adjustment and it will not hurt our photograph. Okay, now the other really beneficial part of this is it works like a layer mask. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring back some areas of color. So to do that, I'm going to hit D on my keyboard to set my foreground and background color to default black and white. And then I'm going to hit X to flip-flop so black is on top. And then I'm going to select my brush tool. Now with my brush tool selected, I'm just partial to using a soft edge brush, so I put my hardness on 0. It's really up to you if you want a hard or a soft edge brush. Now you see I'm on my black and white adjustment layer. I'm going to make the size of my brush a little larger, and now I'm going to start to paint the reflection out in the mirror to expose the color version. So you can control where the adjustment happens to. Okay, you see I messed up a little bit right here. If you mess up, you just you hit X, switch to white, and then you can go over it and return it to normal. Because this is acting just kind of like a layer mask works, and it is non-destructive. So I'm just going to paint out all of the reflection. I'm going to come down here and paint out the reflection in this part too. Now in this area it might be helpful to change to a hard edge. Okay, so this is really a useful edit if you're wanting to leave some parts of your photograph in color and turn the rest to black and white. Now I'm just going to go clean it up, and to clean it up I'm going to change it to a hard edge brush. I'm going to click X so that it switches to white. Now I'm just going to, anywhere that I messed up, I'm just going to paint over to clean up. Just painting that adjustment back in. And the whole time you can see here, anywhere that's marked in black, that's an area that I have brushed over. Any area in white is where the adjustment still remains. Whoops. Okay, once you have finished, we're done with this particular image, so we're going to save it. File, save as. We're going to save it as a JPEG, save on your computer. Save it as a JPEG, and then on to the next. So once you save it, you can X out to go on to the next one. Okay, the next one we're gonna do is pretty simple. It is the envelopes, and it's called levels. So for this one, we're gonna do the levels adjustment. Now, this is a very simple edit. It's super useful to know. This is really useful when you wanna adjust your white point in an image. When you see this photograph in front of us right now, you can see that the white looks a little dingy. So we're just basically gonna pop the white, clean it up. This would be a product photo or something. If you ever need to do something like this to put online, this is really useful. So we're gonna find the levels adjustment, which again, if you hover over top of your adjustment panel, it is the second one on the top. Now this one here, you're gonna see, it looks like little mountains here. This is showing you what areas of your photograph, your whites, your blacks, and your midtones. So what we're gonna do for this one is we're going to grab the slider in the center, not this one, but the one above it, and we're gonna just drag this until the mountain starts to go up to its peak. So right about there, and that is the extent of the edit that we're gonna do for that one. You don't want to overdo it too much or you'll wash it out and you'll start to lose light areas of the image. But this is your levels adjustment. And again, I'm going to point out down here, it is not, it is on top. This adjustment layer is above your photograph. So if you didn't like it, I'm going to just delete it and do it again so you can see. You just hit delete and your photo is as it was. So again, that adjustment was the second one. Come to the center, find your white point, and drag it up till it starts to go up. Okay, now we're going to save this, File, Save As, and move on to our next one. Okay, so the third one we're going to do is hue saturation. So it's this one with the big heart. So what we're going to do for this one by the name is our hue saturation adjustment. So you're going to find the hue saturation, which is the first one on the second row of our adjustment panel. And this time we're going to click on it. Now I want to remind you guys that we have used this adjustment destructively numerous times. If you think back to the spill, we did the hue adjustment. When we changed the color of the glasses, the color of the house, many times we have used the destructive hue saturation. Now this time we're using the adjustment layer, so this is non-destructive. So it's over here in this panel. We can use it the same exact way. So what we're gonna do is click on colorize, and then you're gonna grab, and I only want you to focus on the color of the heart. Okay, so I'm gonna go with purple. So only focus on the color of the heart. And then you're gonna come and you're gonna grab your brush tool again, and I'm gonna collapse the properties panel just so I can see my whole project. And what I'm gonna do is, I still have that hard edge brush. I'm gonna brush over everything except the heart. So I'm gonna leave the adjustment only on the heart. I'm trying to go a little too fast. So I'm gonna touch it up now. So to touch it up, I'm gonna grab the white. So I'm just gonna hit X to flip flop, or you can hit the little arrows, and then I'm just gonna go to the area where I just kind of messed up a little bit, and I'm gonna bring that adjustment color back in. So super useful for your photographs when you want to just change a certain part of them. And all of these edits over here are really basic things that you would want to use for photographs. So super useful. Again, you can see kind of the preview of where you painted out in black and the area left as the adjustment in white. Okay, now we're going to save it, file, save as, and we're going to move on to the next. So the next one we're going to do, it is called Rockstar Gradient. So for this one, we are going to be using the gradient map adjustment. So when you click on that, and we might have used this one time before, you're gonna get in your properties panel, you're gonna get the default kind of gradient that goes from black to white. If you double click on this, it's gonna pull up your gradient editor. I'm just gonna scoot it over to the side a little bit. Now, in all these folders, you gotta click to the left on this. I don't know why you can't click on the folder. That is everybody's default reflex, is to click on the folder, but you have to click on that little arrow to the left of the folder to access all the different colors available to you. So go ahead and find one that you like. Okay, so you can kind of play around with it. You can also choose your own colors by double clicking in the stops here and here. That will pull up the color picker and you can select whatever color you want. So you can also play with, if you want it to, the gradient type, which I think is kind of fun here. So I'm just gonna play around with it here. Go a little darker. You guys can do what you want. I just kind of want you to experiment. I'm gonna make it a little gritty. Okay. I'm kind of liking that. Again, you can go ahead and play around to what you like. When you are satisfied, you're gonna go ahead and click OK. You can also, oh, by the way, before you do that, you can also restrict colors if you want, or add transparency if you want. Once you're satisfied, go ahead and click OK. And you can paint out some areas on here if you want to. You can even use a gradient on your gradient, on your adjustment layer, to only apply the adjustment in certain areas, which I think I'll show you on the next one. So if you would like to paint out some areas of the gradient so that you don't have the gradient on your whole photo, you can, or at this point you can save it. Okay, and then our final one is going to be the landscape photo, St. Augustine. And for this one, we are going to apply a photo filter. Now the photo filter adjustment layer mimics different filters that you could purchase for a camera lens. So you're going to see here all different ones. So you can go through. You can do a cooling filter, a warm filter, and then you can amp it up. I like to amp up the intensity. You can play around. You can also customize your color filter also. If you click here, you can go ahead and kind of do your own thing with your own color filter. Now, something else I'd like to mention also is anytime if you are doing a tutorial or on the internet or a paper tutorial or in the test and they give you a series of numbers and letters to type in for a color, this is the spot where you would type it in. Okay, so it's usually a six character sequence, and you always just go to your color picker and you would type the sequence in here, and that would designate a color. So once you have selected the photo filter that you like, you are finished. But I did want to show you the other thing where applying a gradient on your adjustment layer. So I'm going to select the gradient tool to do this. And if you look up here where the gradient tool is, you see that there are 5 different options of different gradients. This is a linear gradient, this is a radial gradient, this is an angle gradient, this is a reflected gradient, and this is a diamond gradient. These are on the certification test. You have to be able to look at the picture and know that this is linear. You need to know that this is radial. You need to know that this is angle. You need to know that this is reflected. You need to know that this is diamond. So you need to memorize what each of these are, and the picture, of course, helps you. So I'm going to try to show you using this one, and I'm going to select I'm going to go to the basics, and I'm going to go from, I'm going to select the one that has the foreground to transparent. I'm going to flip my foreground. So I'm going to start in the center and I'm going to pull out. And so what that did, you can see by looking at this, if you look over here at the layer panel where the adjustment layer is, it has removed the adjustment from the center, and out on the edges, the adjustment remains.